Hey guys, what's up? Alec back with the daily stock market and an interesting day in the stock market today. Most stocks starting off down big and then they started to recover. Like Coinbase here, for example, was down 11% at market open and then it ended up recovering around 12% to end the day. Now, we were shorting the stock market today up around $500, and a lot of our students in our close friends list are trained to take profits right away. So here we can see that some of our students went from $3,000 to around $25,000 in their account from joining the close friends list. Thank you, bro. I sold and took profits right away. As soon as there's a $1,200 gain, you should be trained on option trading at least to take profits right away. Sold at open for my small accounts. Thanks for the play. Up 4% on account total. $817 gain. And the list goes on and on. So make sure you check out the success number 6 highlight section of my Instagram if you want to see more positive success stories. This video, I want to go over some stocks that we haven't talked about, like Rivian and NIO, for example. And we'll also talk about Tesla towards the end of the video. Make sure you stay throughout the entire video so you don't miss out on any of your electric vehicle updates for the month of October. So take a second out of your day to subscribe with post notifications on. And if you're already subscribed, make sure you hit that notification button so you're notified every time a new video comes out. Starting off with Lucid at $13 per share. Zooming out, we have a down 7% in the past week, down 21% in the past month, down 30% in the past 3 months. So here we see the stock has fallen tremendously. We can even see from all-time highs, it's still down around 75% to this day. It was at $52 per share. And if we go back even further than that, we can see that it was hanging out around $20 to $35 for actually a pretty long time. Okay, it did IPO at $10 per share. So if I'm able to grab Lucid under $10 per share, that's where it's a little bit more attractive for me to load up on Lucid. I want to see them even lower than that, but we'll talk about projections towards the end of this segment on Lucid. Let's dive into a little bit more details going on under the hood with Lucid Group. Okay, so here we see an article. Here's how many vehicles Lucid Group produced, deliveries in Q3, and how it stacks up against rival EV makers. Lucid reported third quarter production and delivery figures. Lucid had some ground to cover before catching up to its rivals in the electric vehicle space. So here we see electric vehicle company Lucid reported third quarter production and delivery figures on Wednesday morning. Here's how the numbers stack up to guidance and rivals. What happened? Lucid, which announced SPAC merger back in February 2021, which we all remember if we were trading in the stock market back then, when it IPO'd, okay, reported production of 2,200 vehicles in the third quarter, more than tripling the second quarter production. Lucid Group delivered 1,300 vehicles in the third quarter. The company reiterated it was on track to meet the updated guidance of 6,000 to 7,000 vehicles produced for fiscal year 2022, which is a good thing to see. Lucid Group cut its guidance twice in 2022 with the initial forecast of 20,000, then cut to a range of 12,000 to 14,000 before cutting the guidance again with a second quarter financial results to the current 6,000 to 7,000 range, which they better be hitting. At the end of the second quarter, Lucid reported it had 37,000 reservations for the Lucid Air, okay? And then the quarterly financial results or their earnings are going to be reported on November 8th. So mark your calendars if you are a big Lucid fanatic and you care about that a lot, or if you have a lot of money in Lucid, for example. Stacking up to the rivals, here's how Lucid third quarter production and deliveries compare to some of the rivals. Ford, okay, it's hard to compare against Ford, so take this one with a grain of salt. The next one, when we talk about Rivian, will be more a better comparison. So Ford Motor Company reported electric vehicle sales in the U.S. up 197% year over year in the third quarter. The company sold 4,600 electric vehicles in the month of September alone. Strong sales were reported for the F1 Lightning and the Mustang, the electrical Mustang. Ford has sold more than 41,000 electric vehicles year to date in 2022. So doing significantly better than Lucid, obviously. Rivian, which is a better comparison, reported third quarter production of 7,000 and deliveries of 6,500. both already ahead of what Lucid is guiding for the full fiscal year. Rivian's guidance for annual production of 2,500 vehicles, a figure lowered from its original forecast of 50,000 vehicles for Rivian. Wow. So Rivian is also ahead of Lucid significantly. Now moving over to GM, we can see that it reported its third quarter deliveries and production of electric vehicles were strong due to the demand. The company saw its best quarterly sales over the Bolt EV and the EUV with 14,000 sales combined, which isn't the best. Electric vehicle leader Tesla reported its third quarter deliveries of 343,000, the third quarter up 35% from the second quarter, which obviously the Shanghai shutdowns were hindering the second quarter a little bit there, and up 42% year over year, which is extremely impressive. Okay, with the opening the new factories, we're only going to see that keep growing, and that's why a lot of people are so bullish on Tesla for the mid to long term. The number came in below analyst estimates, however, which analysts were expecting around 360,000. Third quarter production was 365,000 vehicles. Lucid price action. Lucid shares were up 3.6% to $13 per share on Wednesday versus a 52-week range of as high as $57 per share. So there's definitely a lot of things to consider. We have a market cap of 21 billion on Lucid. It's not a profitable company. It's working towards that positive EPS. We can see that it reported around 30 cents EPS negative last quarter, and it's been around that same range the last 4 quarters too. So if it can get up to a positive EPS, that's going to be huge for the company. And again, I want to see it towards $10 per share, under $10 per share, and if we can even see it closer to new all-time lows of $8 per share, then I'm going to be interested in Lucid Group, but mainly for long-term investing only. I don't want to just buy a Lucid and sell it 6 or 8 months later or even 12 months later. This is one that I'm probably going to want to hold for 2 years, 3 years, even 5 years down the road or longer, especially if I can get in under $8 or even under $10 per share. Now, Rivian we'll talk about very briefly, but we can see that the market cap is 29 billion, so it's around the same market cap, same value as something like Lucid is. However, it's delivering, 10 times as many vehicles as Lucid right now. So it'll be interesting to pay attention to Lucid and Rivian through the next couple years to see if Lucid's able to pass Rivian in deliveries and if it's able to actually deliver more electric vehicles than something like Rivian. Okay, I think where Lucid is going to have to step up its game is the cheaper category, because I think the cheapest Lucid right now is like $150,000, which most people can't afford that. Rivian's also expensive. I think the cheapest one for Rivian is like 70,000. Okay, so at the end of the day, they could make cheaper models like Tesla did with the Model 3, and it could explode their deliveries. That's a long-term vision, though. And if you're investing in these companies, you should probably be holding for long-term anyway. If you guys didn't see that, we actually had a recall-related pullback. Okay, analysts are saying that it seems overdone. Here we can see that an analyst reiterated a buy in Rivian with a price target of $65 per share in the next 12 months. After speaking with management, the analyst says Rivian Automotive recalled 13,000 of its R1 units, or less than 1% of its vehicles. It's relatively minor, and its manufacturing lines have already been updated. Is it less than 1% though? Because that implies that Rivian has 1 million R1 units already produced, which I don't think they do, but I could be wrong. But that's 1%. 13,000 is 1% of 1.3 million. So I don't know how they came up with that number, but they did come up with it. So it might be accurate, but you might want to dive in if you're a huge Rivian bull or bear. You might want to dive in and fact check that number because it seems a little suspicious. But moving on, usually customers can drive through service centers or use pop-up maintenance areas. He believes that 25,000 production target is still on track. He views the pullback as overdone and would-be buyers Okay, Rivian is well positioned with its SUV slash its pickup truck electric vehicle portfolio in one of the most attractive and fastest growing vehicle markets, with exposure to both consumer and commercial. He re-rated on the pullback, which seemed overdone on a knee-jerk reaction. Price action for Rivian shares are 5% higher at $33 per share. So if we scroll up, we can see they are at $33 per share. And if we zoom out, we can see from their all-time high, to this day, they're still down 69%. They were as high as $129 after they IPO'd at $100 per share. And they're still well below their IPO price. Remember, they did link up with Amazon. Remember, Amazon was super bullish on them. But they were going to use their electric vehicles in their Amazon delivery fleet. So that could be a bullish thing to watch out for long term also. Okay, if we look at total revenue and balance sheets real quick too, we can see that the total revenue for 2022 Q2 was 360 million. Okay, so remember that Q2 number because we're going to compare it against Lucid here in a second. If we scroll down to the balance sheet, Rivian has a great balance sheet, 20 billion in assets and only 3.3 billion in liabilities, which is one of the best balance sheets in the stock market. They're a very, very low chance of going bankrupt. So Rivian will probably be around for a long time, surviving off that 20 billion in assets that they have. They can put that towards research and development and a lot of other things too. So it's really good to see that. Now, if we go to something like Lucid, for example, we can see that the same quarter, they've only brought in 97 million. Okay, so remember, these companies are valued at the same market cap right now, around $28 billion. And Rivian is tripling it's 10 timesing its deliveries, it's tripling its revenue, and Rivian has also a better balance sheet than Lucid also. Here we can see Lucid only has 7 billion of assets on its balance sheet and still the same 3.4 billion in liabilities. So when stuff hits the fan and things aren't looking good and a recession's happening, Rivian actually has a better chance of making it out alive compared to Lucid just off the balance sheet alone. The amount of assets that something like Rivian has, the amount of revenue that it's bringing in will really be a point to net income, who's the fastest to profitability at this point, and who could actually become the most profitable company and continuously provide the most deliveries year over year. Now, real quick, if we want to throw NIO in the mix, we can see that they are also down 39% in the past month to $12 per share. If we pull up the past year from their all-time high, they're still down 60-70%. Okay, and from their all-time high, they're down around 77% still to this day. The IPO'd at $6 per share. They're approaching that same IPO price they had back in 2018 before anyone knew who they were. And if we scroll down, we can see they have a market cap of 19 billion. So they're actually a cheaper company than Rivian or Lucid, because Rivian and Lucid are valued closer to 25 to 30 billion. If we scroll down, we can also see that NIO is still not a profitable company, but they're going to be reporting their earnings on 11/9, which is November 9th. Now, here's when things get interesting, because if we go to NIO's total revenue, we can see that they are significantly producing significantly more revenue than something like Rivian, and especially something like Lucid's producing. Here we have 10 billion in quarterly 2022 quarterly revenue. 10 billion. Okay, so that's 20 to 30 times the amount of total revenue that Rivian or Lucid are producing, and it's, remember, at a cheaper valuation. The market cap on NIO is actually cheaper than Lucid or Rivian. If we scroll down to the balance sheet, we can see that they have 93 billion on their assets, which is an insane number to be thinking about, comparing, to the other ones that we saw. They only had around 7 billion. Okay, so NIO, for example, compared to Lucid, has 10 to 15 times the assets as it's the ones that we talked about earlier in this video. Now they do have 58 to 60 billion in liabilities, which is a little bit concerning. But if we take the difference between 60 billion and 93 billion, that leaves them with 33 billion more assets than liabilities. Okay, so that's still a large amount of assets, nothing to be worried about. We want to be watching NEO's balance sheet though, and making sure those assets aren't creeping down and the liabilities aren't creeping up. So that's something to watch quarter over quarter, year over year. If you're a big NEO investor, constantly check its balance sheet, because right now it's a 61% liability assets ratio, and we want to see that lower. We want to see those liabilities lower and the assets higher. But overall, right now they have 30 billion more assets than liabilities, which is a green flag. And they also have tons of total revenue. All they have to do is get that net income into profitability. We want to see why they're not profitable. Are they spending a lot of research and development right now, and they're going to reap the rewards later on down the line? Personally, I believe in NEO for the long term. They're one I want to be investing in. And if they continue under $10 per share, they're one I'm going to continue to buy in for long-term investing. Again, this is one I want to hold for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, 10 years down the road. NEO, I think, is going to be one of the largest electric vehicle companies in all of China. Now, the only thing is they have a huge competitor. Obviously, Tesla is their biggest competitor because Tesla wants to take over China and Europe. NEO has the same goals. I think NEO is going to be a little bit more niche. So that's why I still want to diversify in NEO. We didn't have time to dive deep on Tesla in this video, but if you want a Tesla update, make sure you subscribe with post notifications on, because the very next video we talk about, we're going to do a full deep dive on Tesla stock. So thank you guys for all the love and support you've been showing on the channel and on the Instagram. Subscribe with post notifications on if you want to join my close friends list, where you can see exactly what I'm buying, when I'm buying, and follow along on my exact trades and option trades and make some consistent money in the stock market. Message me here on Instagram, The Daily Stock Market. Go ahead and read some success stories too. We have hundreds of positive success stories now and thousands of signups on the close friends list. So guys, share this video with a friend if you think that they will find it helpful, or if they're an electric vehicle investor in general, this video will definitely help them out. Subscribe with post notifications on, like this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Remember, don't time the market, buy the market. Peace.